Most people assume a home like this is something that you reach much later in life, after years of saving, career progression, and timing finally lining up. But Ryan is 30 on a normal income and managed to bring that timeline forward using property. So in this episode, we're not just talking about what he did, we're unpacking how he actually worked and whether something like this is repeatable for someone starting from scratch.
So Ryan, tell us what property you just settled on in last week.
Yes, after a long 120-day settlement, we've been able to settle on our dream home, which we spent $2 million on. So after a nice short 5.5-year stint of investing in property, we were able to get there. Yeah, there was no plan at all to buy a dream home. It was probably we're just going through the motions. We're probably going to buy investment property number 8 and investment property number 9. That was probably the plan, I think, now I think about it. But we just saw a property we liked. It was on a really good block. It was right in the suburb, right in the part of the suburb we wanted, nice street. It was a couple $1 million home. And we thought, same again. I annoyed my broker and said, hey, Arthur, is it possible for me to buy this property? And he goes, gee, you're crazy. You might have to offload a couple of investments, but if you really want to make it work, you can. And yeah, here we are, 120-day settlement it took because we needed some time to sell a couple of properties to make it happen. But financially, all we needed to do is offload 3, and therefore we'd have enough for the deposit to get us by, and the lending capability as well.
So nice. You've got this beautiful home. For context, this is like a 5-bedroom or 6-bedroom home.
Yeah, six bedroom, 3 bathroom. It's you get lost in there.
Yeah, if you saw the house, people, you'll be like, geez, this is an amazing house. So what acre? It's got 1 acre.
Yeah, it's 1 acre in Montrose.
Swimming pool, big car garage, like multiple car garage. It's amazing home. From what I've seen. And did you think buying that home, looking back, say 5, 6, 7 years ago when you started the journey, did you ever think you'll actually be buying that dream home at the age of 30?
No, I don't know how I would be able to come up with 20% deposit for a $2 million home. How would I be able to save that much money plus stamp duty that it costs is ridiculous. So whether if you're on $80,000, $90,000 a year, $100,000 a year, whatever it is, how are you ever going to be able to save a deposit to do that? Because that $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 goes towards living. So it's really hard to do that. So no, absolutely not. I never thought it was possible. And at the time that we went to buy the property, I wasn't even sure if it was possible until I actually sat down and really looked from an overview of my portfolio and said, hang on a second, if I move this here and sell this one and this one, we can actually come up with a deposit pretty quickly, and it wasn't that difficult.
Yeah.
And that was just through that decision wasn't difficult, but obviously the plan and coming up with the money throughout the years of the property portfolio, yeah, there's some challenges, but yeah, the short answer is no, absolutely was not expecting to be able to do that at 30. It was never a goal. My goal was to buy my dream home, and this was a vehicle there, but it wasn't at 30. Took 5-6 years. It was ridiculously quick.
It's amazing how things just happen.
So the obvious question becomes, if Ryan didn't grow up around property, didn't come from a property development background, and he didn't have a huge income, so where did it actually start? Because the outcome sounds fast, but the beginning was very, very ordinary.
A bit of background story about yourself, I guess. How did you get into property? Like, why was property something that intrigued you? And did you come from a family that had, investment properties?
Yeah, my family definitely haven't had any investment properties, not at least in my immediate family. So no background in property whatsoever. However it came about, I just started to look at realestate.com and just show some sort of interest, listen to podcasts and start to go, hey, property sounds like a pretty cool vehicle to make money. And the old saying, as safe as houses, is one that I always look at and go, okay, well, somewhere safe to invest your money. So no real reason behind it. I just thought, hey, property sounds like a great reason to put my money, or a good place to put my money in. So no exciting background on how that came.
When you started, what was the first goal that you kind of had for yourself when it was started in property?
Probably like a lot of people, there wasn't really much of a plan. It was like, I just want to get a property. I want to be able to tell my friends I bought a house. I want to be able to tell my family, hey, I'm a homeowner. And investment property is the first one that came to mind. I knew where I was living in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, to get into that market's expensive. So like a lot of people, I went to another state. And yeah, I think I ended up engaging a buyer's agent with my first one, which to this day, we probably got a little bit lucky. I don't know if they knew what they were doing, to be honest. They were kind of more focused on making the money, but there was no plan in place at the very start for the first property. It was just more like, hey, I just want to be a property owner. I just want to invest in property. Every second person says investing in property is great, so I'm just going to scrounge up some money with my partner and just buy something and see what happens. That's how it started anyway. So
how old were you when you bought the first property, and what did that property look like?
So it was 2019. We bought our first property. So 6 months before famous COVID. It would have been middle of 2019, and that one we bought in Brisbane off the plan, which I'll touch on that one, I'm sure, at some stage. But yeah, we paid $470,000 for that one, and still hold that property to this day.
Yep. And what's that valued at?
About 820K at the moment. So that one's done really, really well. Just like any property we've pretty much bought. But yeah, that one's, we didn't really know what we were doing 7 years ago or 6.5 years ago. It was blatantly just we know someone who's a buyer's agent. They said, buy it. What do we know? Let's just buy it. So,
yep. So you guys come up with a deposit, buy this home. You guys are what, 24? I'm assuming 24, 25?
Yeah, yep. I was 20, I would have been 23, 24.
Yeah, there you
Brooke
go.
was 22, I think.
Yep, beautiful. Then the next one, how do you go about number 2, and what was the gap of the year there?
Yeah, so I guess at our age and our income, and same again, a lot of our clients go through the same, and is that first property is always going to be the hardest one to get to number 2. It takes a long period of time. So we bought this one off the plan. So it wasn't built. It was pretty quick build. It was built in about 12 months. But that settled, the land settled, and we got the keys to the property in the middle of 2020. And then it wasn't until 2022 we bought property number 2. So there was a 2-year gap there of finding our feet. How do we pay a mortgage? Wow, this costs a lot of money. Oh no, our tenants have broken something. You know, all the things that you're worried about that are going to happen to property, they all happen. It's all true. And so we needed 2 years of that to understand what's going on. And it wasn't until 2 years later we thought, okay, let's value this property and see what it's like. And then you go, okay, hang on, I've made 150K in growth, whatever it is. You go, hang on, this is a really good thing. Can I just now repeat the process? Maybe not buy off the plan though, and just get one that's already established rather than waiting a year to kind of watch it start. You can go straight into it and buy an established property, and that's what we did in 2022. I didn't know anything about Townsville. I thought, like, once again, I treat myself as a client, right? I think we'd have bought 60, 70 properties for clients in Townsville who have all done very, very well, as we know. And like all of our 60, 70 clients, I kind of thought Townsville's north. It's known for crime. It's known for floodings and cyclones. And why would I put $400,000, $300,000, $500,000 into a random part of Australia I can't go and fix something if it breaks? Not that I would anyway, because I'm far from handy. But like any client, it was like, I just guess I'll trust the process, trust the region. And I was still only been a buyer's agent for 12 months going into that purchase, and still was learning. So
yeah. So you ended up going for number 2, Townsville. What'd you purchase that one for?
$320,000 because I had a roof issue. So I actually presented that property to a client, and that client pulled out of that property due to the roof issue. She didn't want to take on the stress of having to put on a new roof. And so I kind of just came in and bought it myself with the discount that we got, the $30,000 off the price because of the roof issue.
Yeah. What was the logic on the mindset of that? You thought we can get this under market value? Is that what you were kind of thinking?
Yes and no. I'm not too worried about buying property under market value. I'm happy to pay what it's worth and just trust the market and trust the process, as they say. But look, it was probably a $350,000 property with a roof issue, so paid $320,000, knowing that I had to come up with $25,000 in the next 6 months to fix a roof that was slowly leaking. And I was like, look, let's just see how long it takes until my tenant comes knocking and says, all right, I'm underwater now, let's get it fixed. So, that's ended up what happening. Maybe within 12 months, I fixed the roof and came up with the $25,000, which at the time, because it had already grown so much in the 6 to 12 months it took for that roof issue, I was able to just pull equity straight out of that property and pay for the roof with that.
And that was a freestanding house as well?
Yeah, 600 odd square property.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That was like perfect timing back then.
Yeah, it was.
At this point, the individual properties actually matter less than the process. Ryan wasn't trying to pick a perfect house anymore. He was repeating the system. And once the system worked once, confidence replaced hesitation.
So at this point, you got 3. What's the plan or the strategy at this point now? Because you've got a few properties under your belt. Like you said, most people start, they don't really have a bit of a plan, or they don't really know what they want. What's the plan and the goal at this point?
Yeah, my goal was pull equity out of property, buy another one, pull equity out of property, buy another one. I'd already seen what property number 1 did. I'd already started to see what property number 2 did. I was like, I'm not going to really focus on how much income I need to have and what the deposit is I need to come up with. I'm just going to find a property that I think is in a region I want to buy in, and I'm just going to see if I can make it work. I'm probably very frustrating towards my broker. I would call him all the time and just say, hey, I found a property I want to buy. Can I do it? And I know, once again, you and Adrian are much the same. There's no plan. It's not, okay, I'm ready to buy tomorrow or in 6 months' time I can buy. And a plan is great and you'll excel with a plan for sure. But mine was very just, can I make this work or not? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And then go from there.
And so you go for you've got 3 properties now. Brooke's on board, who's your partner. She is on board from day one. Was it any, did you guys sit down together and have to walk her through as well the process? Or was it kind of like you both had the same vision and you're like, this is what we're doing for the next X amount of time?
Yeah, I would say she probably had no choice but to have the same vision as me. She's in the same house listening to all the things I say. So, yeah, she's very good. She had the same goal of let's just make money through property. She didn't care what that looked like, what the house looked like. I would just call her and say, hey, we're buying another property. I guess property's my area. She's pretty switched on and starting to understand a lot of it over the years because she's been a part of it. But buying property 2 and 3 and 4, she was in the dark with a lot of it. It was very just putting her trust in me, just like a client would put their trust in me. I kind of treated Brooke like a client, right? It's going to be okay. This is the pros about the property. This is the negatives. I'd say she's probably one of those more relaxed clients where they kind of go, and clients we get here at Fresh Start are very, very different. She was one of those clients who go, if you think it's a great investment, let's just buy it. Whatever you think we should pay for it, let's just buy it. So yeah, she was like that type of client that would just go, all right, we'll just embrace it and let's get it done.
Regardless of, some people might knock the property because I guess there might be some sort of risk in their eyes, which is fine. There's always risk. But you had the view or the lens of looking at it a little bit differently. Did that just come over time investing in property, or were you kind of conditioned in that way to understand that, kind of how that property would make sense in your brain?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of both. I would make sense of it and say, okay, this is a property that I think is going to do well, and I would try and take as much risk out of it. But I also know that I have no control over the market. I have no idea what's going to happen. But I also knew that what is the money actually doing if I don't buy a property with it? It's sitting in my bank account. It's getting spent on nothing. It's getting eaten by interest. It's getting eaten by inflation. It's all those things, right? So, the interest it's getting is nothing. It's getting eaten by inflation. So my money was doing nothing. So I just thought, whenever I have money available, I'll just buy a property. So there was only so much risk assessment involved. It was, once again, is it a region we can buy and is it going to grow? Is it great? Perfect. Can I add a little bit of value to the property? Great, let's buy it. So there wasn't too much strategy behind it all, apart from the basic stuff, but no control over anything else.
Yep, nice. Okay, so you're up to 5 now, 2025.
Yeah, that's Feb 25.
You're still going here.
Yeah, it's like the floodgates open. Once you start to compound and you get number 3 and 4 and 5, you're now not seeing if you can pull equity from 1. You're seeing if you can pull equity from 3 or 4. And those first 3 we were able to pull equity from, and then the Hope Island one that we had waited to title for 18 months and be built also had equity available. So the floodgates start to open, and therefore 1 to 2 is so hard. But once you get to 3 and 4, you've now got more areas to pull from.
So you're at this point now, you got 7 properties. When's now the conversation at the table with you and Brooke saying, we're looking for a dream home? How'd that happen?
It probably didn't. It's like every single investment property we've ever bought. It just happens. No plan is a good plan sometimes for me. And once again, certainly not advice, but we didn't plan to go and buy the home we wanted to live in. Yeah, so Townsville was the first one we identified as one we wanted to sell, which I know you would mention Townsville's still growing really well and it'd probably be a good one to hold.
I'm like, keep holding it. And you're like, no, I go. I was like, all right, fair enough.
And it was just process of elimination. There was other reasons that I think they're all still great properties, all great areas and still going to continue to grow. But there was other reasons I wanted to keep others. So yeah, we got rid of Townsville first. And that was mainly because it had probably grown the most and done the most movement. And although that market still has a lot in it, that was one. So paid $320 for that one, put 30K into the roof. So technically spent $350 on it. Sold that one for $615. So made a bit of equity through that. Now, obviously our loan was bigger than the time because we'd pulled equity over the years, but we're still able to get some cash from that. We also sold Gladstone, which we paid, the $323 for. And we sold that one for $530 from memory. And then we sold Hope Island as well, which was the apartment that only settled in February 2025. We sold in November 2025. So really only held that one for sub 9 months. But obviously we bought it 18 months prior and we bought that for $595 and sold that for $800. So that had a lot of growth in it as well.
Not bad.
Yeah.
So you've come up with this nice deposit. Do you mind sharing what that looked like to go and put on that home?
Yeah, so the property was 1.97. The deposit we had to come up with was 400 and circa 400K. And then the stamp duty was about 115K as well. So we had to come up with about 510, 515K. I think it was the exact figure, I think in the end was like 513. Which was tough. We did not have any money in the bank whatsoever, maybe 10K. And that was just probably a little bit of leftover equity from some transactions we'd done. So we had to identify those properties to sell them, and that's what we did. And that was how we came up with it all.
You made it happen.
And this is a part that usually gets skipped when people hear a story like this. From the outside, it sounds quick, but living through it, it didn't feel quick at all. It was a series of uncomfortable decisions made long before the results showed up.
And what was the lessons through that whole journey? From the last 2019, from the first 2019, yeah, correct, first property,
yep.
to now. Any lessons that you could share that you learned and then were very valuable, it helped you?
Yeah, I don't know how great these lessons would be, but the biggest things I learned is don't be afraid to spend your money and worry about how much you've got in your bank account. I think a lot of people want a buffer in there of $40,000, $50,000, and once again, it's probably average advice because some will argue that having cash there or surplus money to be able to fix a problem is important. I think definitely have some sort of money there, but if you really, really, really want to achieve your goal, you've got to sprint. You can't just keep jogging through it and kind of wait for that right moment, that right property that feels right. None of the properties I've bought I would live in personally, and none of them felt right at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I think just go for it. Just buy the property. Worst case scenario, if anything goes wrong, once again, probably average advice, but it's my opinion, is if anything goes wrong, you can just sell the property. You can be able to resell it. If you're buying in a region that you've identified as a growth region and there's some interest in there, then you should be able to resell the property for a similar price that you paid.
You said before, like you're not a big guy that summer holidays in Europe and things like that. And it's, property focused. Why? Like, what's the driving force to keep doing what you're doing and this take a foot off the pedal and say, hey, no, it's going to relax now and just enjoy a bit more of life?
Yeah, I think we've still been able to go on a couple of holidays. They're just not long, months on end, $50,000 holidays. They're just more your quick, cheap 10K, get in, get out. And I'm not saying that's a great way to live and a great way to do about it, but I think I've seen the numbers, I've seen the compounding, and putting that money into property rather than going on a holiday or buying a fancy car and things like that. It's going to get you more surplus cash eventually anyway. So we can make up for lost time when we get to that stage, and who knows when that's going to be. It might be 5 years away, 10 years away. But if you do the hard work now and try and avoid going on all those holidays and spending all your money now, that's the main reason behind it. Then there's going to be more cash that can put into property and then excel and get there faster. And who knows what's going to be going on at 40. I mean, look what we've done in 6 years, from 23 to 29 or 24 to 30. So it's crazy to think what we can do from 30 to 40 and 40 to 50, and anyone who's 50 to 60 and 60 to 70. I mean, just about anyone can do anything with investing in property, no matter what age you are. And you've seen you can do it really quick if you're disciplined and you're risk versus reward, right? You're happy to take a few risks. And that's not to say there's been blown up hot water systems and there's been cracked pipes and roof leaks and there's been everything along the way, but it's just part of it, right?
Looking back over the journey over the last 6-7 years, over your portfolio journey, anything that you would do differently if you had your time again?
Yeah, hindsight is a good one. Probably property number one we bought in 2019, which we've touched on a couple of times this morning. That one we bought off the plan, which did take 18 months to be built, or it was about between 12 and 18 months it took to the whole process to get the keys. I think looking back, if I could do it again, I would be buying an established home quicker, because once you get an established home, you can get your rental income, you can add your value pretty quickly. And then in that kind of 12 to 18 month period, I potentially could have already been working on pulling out equity for number two. So I probably lost maybe 6 months there, because yes, there was growth in the property that hadn't been built, but I still think that I probably lost 6 to 12 months whilst buying off the plan. So I would have just gone straight for something established. It would have been, a bit of a less of a false start.
Yeah, so you could have got, like, instead of that one and then wait 2 years, get number two, you could have maybe got after 2 years and then get number 3 maybe by number 3.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, number 2 would have come quicker if we bought and established straight away rather than waiting for a build.
When a first-time investor is going out there and buying their first investment property, what is the one thing that holds them back?
Time and time again, a lot of investors are always waiting for that perfect property. It's got to be the perfect building and pest inspection. It's got to be the perfect block. It's got to be the perfect shape, the perfect quiet street and all those things. And so many things are important. But when it does come to the house itself, I just don't think it's as important to worry about the bumps and bruises and things it does have. So, I think that building and pest side of things, people get very nervous and think it has to be perfect, but you can easily fix a leaking gutter. You can fix a leaking roof. You can fix a crack in the side of the house, whatever it is. I know that's extreme, but as you've heard throughout my portfolio, it's very possible to fix things and create, I guess, money through fixing things and adding value.
So going back, if you wanted to try and change that mentality or change your position to be able to do what you've done, is there anything that you would give as a piece of advice of how you could, do some action steps to maybe develop those skills?
Develop the skills of being able to
take more risk on, understand property more, be a bit more financial, illiterate to understanding property.
I think just educating yourself. If you can educate yourself and find an area or a location or a pocket or a region in where to buy, or find someone who can help you with that, the advice I would give or the area you can upskill is just learning as much as you can. Understand. If you go and work with a buyer's agent, say to the buyer's agent, teach me as much as you can, because I might only use a buyer's agent for one purchase and I want to learn it myself and live and breathe it myself and do it. Or whether it's podcasts like this or it's books or whatever it may be, it's, learn as much as you can, because I say you need to be a risk taker, but that word risk can be anything, I guess. What I'm saying is if you can learn enough about it, the risk doesn't seem as risky. Because what I say, just throwing money into property and just buying anything, well, there's obviously so much more that's gone into that back end. It was more a risk about paying it and just going with it. But my risk came from confidence of knowing these regions should be doing well. So I think if anyone out there can go and educate themselves enough on these regions and whatnot, then it's going to feel like less of a risk, which I touched on before. The risk-adverse people, they will feel less scared to be able to make the plunge and jump in and buy a property.
People listening, your risk will change as you go through the process. Property 1 Ryan compared to property 7 Ryan is completely different person. And that's because you've gone through the journey. So people thinking and going, oh my God, I don't think I can do that. You definitely can. You just got to start somewhere and slowly work your way up. So awesome advice. If we go back 2019, Ryan's 23 years old, you're getting your first property. What's that look like and how much of a deposit did you need to get started?
The deposit plus a buyer's agent fee that we paid at the time and everything worked out to be about $58,000. That was deposit and the buyer's agent fee and the stamp duty. Now, the market's changed in 6 years and just about everywhere, so it's probably a touch more than that now. But at the time, it was about $58,000, which we had saved over that kind of 4 to 5 years prior from us being 17, 18 working.
So today, you probably would you say 50,000 to 60,000 can still get into the market?
Yeah, I think so. There's definitely markets out there where we're buying currently as buyers agents that you can get into the market in that deposit range of, and once again, depending on your broker and what you can get in with a 5% deposit now. So if you're buying a $500,000 property, that's $25K plus your stamp duty and fees. So I think still 50, 60K is very achievable to get into the market for property number 1. And one thing I see people doing is 50 to 60K, yes, it's going to get me property number 1, but that property is not going to be good enough and it's not in a great enough region. I need to buy in Melbourne or Sydney and I need to keep saving. But that's a scary trap to get into because those markets keep moving on you and you can't save as much. So why not get into a region you know nothing about, in a state you know nothing about, to then get there quicker? So that's another, obviously, a thing that people can go down that we obviously chat to people about.
Yeah, that's probably one of the best pieces of advice you probably could give to someone to change the way they think and look outside their own vicinity.
Yeah.
So, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your story. I think for the people listening, one piece of advice that you probably think it's the best piece of advice when it comes to getting started.
I would just say find out what that figure is you need to buy a property, I would be calling a real estate agent in the area that you're going to buy, or calling a buyer's agent that you want to speak to, or whatever it is, and just finding out what that dollar is you got to save. Okay, great. I've spoken to my broker. I've spoken to a real estate agent in the area I want to buy. It's going to cost me $60,000, and just put together a plan to get to 60K and buy the property.
Yep.
You've just got to get property number one out of the way. It's the hardest one. By far the hardest property to buy is property number one. And then property number two is going to be the second hardest, and then it just gets easier and easier and easier.
This episode isn't really about buying a home early. It's about how decisions made in your 20s change the options available in your 30s. Ryan didn't start with a dream home. He started with one decision he wasn't comfortable making. The important part isn't copying every step he took. It's recognizing which decisions apply to your situation and which ones don't.